This podcast was recorded in Calgary, Alberta, on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Îyârhe Nakoda Nations, the Otipemisiwak Métis government of the Métis Nation within Alberta District 6, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta.
Coming to you on the internet audio, all the STEM homies know he's where you gotta go, vibing your ride to the Graham and Michael groove. Oh, it's a whole new funky flow interview. Treat your ears, get the gist of careers from the list of our engineers and scientists, maybe twisted up with technologists. The podcast, baby, and not to be missed. Got more fly than a ripe banana. Like Sam, I got the stamina streaming across Canada. I can treat sugar band, I got that swiggity swag, yeah, and the 411 from White Horse to Niagara. Don't you know we're gonna innovate? Got a topic here to elevate. Gonna entertain and educate.
I'm Michael Tallboom, Associated Engineering's creative leader, sitting in for our usual host on the podcast, Graham Nix, who's away researching our upcoming 5-part deep dive into the history of the chimichanga. In our last episode, I spoke with Judy Yu, Associated's Data Management and ITS Discipline Lead, about some of the challenges and opportunities in the world of data management. We'll be building on that discussion today as Judy shares insights about asset management and data protection from her work with Associated Engineering's Strategic Advisory Services Group, and we'll wrap things up with some tales from the world of intelligent transportation systems. There's been, or I get the sense that there's been, a lot of exciting developments in ITS with the prevalence of data collecting devices, the growth of big data, and our capacity to tease meaningful information out of that big data. And it seems like that's increasingly happening with the assistance of AI. What does that look like from your point of view? Should every community be expecting to leverage machine learning as part of their journey?
I think it's inevitable that you can get pockets of innovation in an organization. Will there ever be an engine that says, I will crunch every context and every problem you have and spit out all the answers? I think that's quite far away. But I think that there's pockets of innovation because as far as I understand in the communities that I roll in, AI developers are picking very specific niches to exist in because it is very important to train that AI appropriately for the problem statement. It is actually super dangerous to get generic about it because you're not going to get good results. But if you can focus an AI on doing something for decision-making that is either comprised of very big data, so you can get insightful decision-making at the end with a human, I think that's going to happen fairly quickly because the processing of data is what we're trying to do now. We, at the SAS group, do a pretty good job of it, translating bits and bytes, blah, 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 numbers into something that people are like, oh, okay, that's what it means. Like they get a clean version, a clean dashboard, this is the forecast, this is what it's telling me, and you had all this muddle of data, but we've cleaned it up for you. They love that. But I think the next stage, we don't want to exist in that space forever. What we want to do is mature from that and get into a space where now you're going beyond, now you're going to data warehousing because when you make a master set, something that people really believe in and trust in, you need to sustain
What's
it.
a master set?
Like a master data set is something that has cleared a certain quality level. You're like, people are like, okay, you know, the guy with the Excel spreadsheet on his desktop versus the guy that has an Access database, but it's all about the same thing, but nobody trusts anybody. So that's a symptom of an organization with poor data management practices. So the everyday things are, I always take a copy and I put it on my desktop. That is the best copy. But is it? Is it? Do you know that for sure? But for some reason in the human's mind, because they did it, it's got to be better. That's a poor practice. So the idea that when you master something is that an organizational level of trust exists. And then there's all these things that tell you have it, like catalogs, comes with a dictionary. It's very clear what it has metadata behind it. This is what all the stuff you can query on your own self-serve, but you know it's good. Someone owns it, but I trust the system. I trust that the practices around me keep this at the best that it can be.
And every employee knows that there is a master.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you need it for your job, you have a certain level of access to it, and it's supposed to help you. It shouldn't be that I spend 10 days walking around the office asking, hey, you got one of these? Hey, I got one of those. What version is yours? Oh, yeah, no, I got it from like 1998. Like it take you like 20 days just to talk to people. So,
not worried about 2K, but...
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm not even saying that in a kidding way, but it really is. We say we don't have enough money, but what I see is that a lot of time and is spent on mystery spending. Like, you're just trying to find stuff, but it shouldn't be that hard. Yeah. So you can imagine that those 10 days or whatever get reduced to hours. You can now take that money, that efficiency, and spend it on something real. I think that's how it should be. Whether organizations ready to embrace that, everyone wants it. It sounds like it's the dream, right? But there's a journey there. So that's the journey, the data management journey, that I want to take on, so that they can get on their way and realize that future. You can always keep dreaming, but you got to take action, right? So when we see clients that are ready, definitely kind of move in that direction.
So is there concern the AI might be fairly narrowly focused because that's what the developers are interested in?
Can be.
So you've got one AI that's really familiar with the transit system, another AI that's really familiar with what's going on with the roads and all that.
Possibly, yeah.
Is there a risk of that being siloed in the same way it used to be? There was the guy in his office that knew about transit, and there was another guy in his office.
Right?
The roads, and those two guys never talk to each other?
It depends on the topic.
Yeah.
So you're actually at a pretty high level. The transit system is actually very, very high level. You can talk about the vehicles, you can talk about the rail, you can talk about the power lines, you can talk about the buildings. So that's getting in the very specific silos. And even in those spaces, there's tons of stuff to use an AI for. Should I use that material? Is it reliable in our temperature? What's the cost of replacement right now? What's the cost of replacement projected in the future? Because is it a bargain I get now, but do I pay for it on the back end? Nobody has answer to those because the data is poorly kept. But if an AI had that, you could get that fairly quickly. Because right now the answer is, let's get a junior person and look for some data and then crunch it. I think at those very specific design, if you're an owner, sometimes I flop between a consultant and an owner. If you're an owner and you're grappling with the early stages of an RFP and you want to know certain things so you can frame your service, those would be good. Those engines would be good for going through all the RFPs and all the things that our city has put out for in this system, in this context, for this type of equipment, and seeing the results. How much did we pay for that? What was the bid on that? How many companies came in for that? Do they still exist? What's the product catalog look like? I want to know, what's the temperature rating? That's what I used to do, is pull cut sheets and have to categorically remember everything in my mind, because I'd have at least 5 products in each bucket that I was okay with. So it's, when we talk system level, they interact completely differently. So that's another level of AI that would have to be taught with all these other things in mind. So say you had that data crunch and you're feeling really good about that, the results you're getting, they're helping you make decisions. That would take a long while to figure out. But once you're comfortable with it, the interaction of all those decisions together in a system might feed your new AI. So that's like the downstream thing. So I don't worry too much about that, because it's, for me, getting out the door now with good governance, with good training practices, having some results to actually determine where AI's fit is many years. Exciting, yeah. But many years. I don't have a crystal ball. Wish I did, but I don't.
Those humans are safe for the time.
The humans are safe. And in fact, I said, if I had, and I use chat a lot, I use many different versions of that. It's not the silver bullet. Number one, it's not. Just from my own personal experience, it just takes some of the annoying stuff off my plate, and it's like bouncing off someone that you're like, I need a second opinion. I wonder if this is true. Ultimately, you're making that decision. You're not going, well, if chat says it's right, it must be right. That wouldn't be I think, the appropriate use of an AI at this stage.
When we talk about some of the players in the AI space, a question that always comes up is ownership of the data, whether it be the inputs into the model or the outputs from them created by the public and commercial users of the tools. So I'm wondering if that kind of thing applies as well to the physical assets. Like, are there communities that don't own their own roads or other linear assets or
Yeah.
infrastructure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There can be all kinds of ways. There's lots of P3s that happen out there now in different fields, obviously, for different scales, obviously. There's ways to get a managed service of staff that has nothing to do with infrastructure. They might come with some infrastructure, but they could be just the doing. We see a lot of maintenance and operations people that are like that, like ATAP. It's always been out there, but I think as an option for providing a certain level of service, it's become more prevalent. Asset management, data management, it's all the same question. Do I have the capacity to run this?
So even if they don't own these assets, our recommendation is for them to set up a system where they own the data coming from them.
100%. It's funny because when I was with the city, it already was a big deal. So this is 24 years ago. I flagged it in a contract because I saw it, and my peers in transit were signing up for software as a service. And when I looked into it, the data doesn't come with you. When you unsubscribe, they kept the data. I said, no way, we're not doing software as a service. And that was the first cut of computer-aided dispatch. There was like a lot of services out there on-prem, and they would have it off-prem, hosted or whatnot. So when I looked at that, I'm like, why wouldn't we want to own our data? Even without fully understanding the implications, I was like, this is not good. So that's been around for a long time. Your data is worth something. Data is valuable. People just didn't know what they didn't know.
Yeah, we're all getting smarter about that on an
I hope so.
level.
I hope so. I think it's very important to be reflecting like some of the challenges you're seeing in your personal life with protecting your own identity and your own information, and associate that at a bigger scale to our clients, because the risk is real. And so there's a motivation, there's a criminal motivation now because the data's worth so much. So it's worth knowing. Cybersecurity is actually one of the bigger areas of growth out in the big wide world, Internet of Things, and you've got cybersecurity definitely has taken a bigger, more prominent role in almost anything you think about now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and data protection and data. So there's things like ownership, and then there's things like lineage, like where did this come from? Who touched it? And that's a part of the security question, but it's a part of the confidence question as well. As if I don't know where this came from, is it enough that I know the organizational name? Or like, what is the basic information I need to know about this set that would make me trust it enough to bring it into my organization and mash it with stuff I know? That's actually really important to
like we were speaking about the organizational trust, like getting everybody on board
Yeah.
with the master set. Right?
For sure. And then once you lose it, people are like, meh, make my own.
Yeah.
Like, it's very fast. And you're like, oh, geez, I'll never. So be careful, realize some of the weaknesses in sort of people's reaction to technology as we step further into this, and it's not a rosy, do it once kind of thing. It's a constant improvement. You got to get back in there and make sure that there's an owner to that system, to the practice, and that they care. I think the key is to care. So.
And that's the owner that's ensuring it.
Well, they're part of the
Valuing
stakeholders. I think it's important, like you said, not to be in a siloed mindset. So say we work for one person and we really like that person. We're like, you'd be awesome at this. You totally should do this. But really, there's a whole organization we need to leverage. And that sharing that responsibility beyond the client that we know is equally important. Because once that person leaves, that beautiful system might just crumble. And so what we call that in SAS is like embedding it into the organization. How do you help embed this? Not just create it out of the gate, which is lovely, but embed it so that people start thinking that way ongoing. And I've seen really good evidence where, lucky me, I work in projects where I get to benchmark against successful organizations and have chats with them. So you're like, yes, it can be done. Yes. You did it and you did it and you did it. And so you, client, you can do this. And I think that actually really helps. Yeah. So having examples of good working organizations that have adopted new practices in these emerging areas and are enjoying the benefits of it.
Can reassure them that the money that they're spending today isn't going to be wasted.
Right. And I think that's the fear. I can own something that's broken, but I know where it's broken. It's like, well, at least I know it's broken. Whereas if I, invest in something, now I've spent some money. And it's still broken. So do I want to do that? And the fear is that it is broken, but I'm like, why do you fear? Why look at the picture with the negative? Why not have your eye on what are the things I am trying to change with this investment and put some time into that so that it doesn't go the other way? Because it really is, the fear is just based on, I've spent some money, so now when someone's holding me accountable, well, shouldn't they hold you accountable? Wouldn't you want to be, why would you make this decision at all? Because the problem was big enough for you to bring it to this level. And now the last step is to commit to doing it and making sure it gets to the finish line. That fear is very real. Yeah, the finish line. I always say you see the finish line, but you just can't get them across there. And that's what we need to do.
So I'll wrap things up here by asking you maybe a question that takes a step back from your role here at Associate.
Right.
And that's, you're currently on the board of the Intelligent Transportation Systems Canada organization.
Yes, I am.
Where do you see things going in the next decade from wearing that hat? What can Canadian engineers contribute to the direction that things take?
Well, personally, I see in our industry, ITS, I've seen changes in the type of professionals that get engaged. It was civil engineering dominant, which was probably wrong to begin with. And the electricals were kind of cast to the side as like, you don't know anything about transportation. They did a lot of system stuff, but now we're definitely all at the table, especially with autonomous vehicles and connected infrastructure. Both fields are heavily collaborating now with none of that, weirdness. I see more planners getting involved. I see more asset managers get more involved in it because the data part, it's moved so fast. In ITS, what I always loved about it, it's not dormant data. It is real. It is live all the time. And I love that. And so I see that being the base of where we're working out of. So vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure. So if the infrastructure is talking to itself about your movements to make sure you get home safely, what does that look like? Without human intervention, what does that look like? And how many professionals would need to be involved in that? So that's where I see it going.
Does ITS Canada have a sense of the answer to that question, or is
we do it?
That the big
we
challenge?
do it organically. We work with on and off vehicle manufacturers. We do try to talk to the freight industry. It's a little bit of a mystery box. We do have some port contacts, and because it's a member organization, it really relies on us reaching out to them and getting conversations going and asking them to please participate in certain initiatives. So 2 years ago, we didn't have a marine engineering ITS roadmap. We got one going. We managed to strike up a committee between the university, I believe it was the province, and a few members that lived out in that direction to build a specific marine ITS, sort of like a service package. And service packages are like, well, what would this do? Like, what does this do? What are all the things that marine ITS would be helping with? Is it operations? Is it control of traffic? And what does it do? So we define that, and then how does it play with things like the things that are on the street? So say it's next to a major road or a port. Well, how do the road ITS interact with the port ITS? This truck is coming out. What is it carrying? Is it dangerous? Where is it en route to? Does it have a permit? And then exchange that with the municipality and then exchange it with the province. Because as you know, we're moving from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, which is why I love transportation so much. And that has to remain whole, intact, protected. It's encrypted. but it's moving off the vehicle to the relevant pieces as it moves so that that freight can get to where it's going safely, efficiently. What if there was a flood somewhere and they needed supplies? How does this vehicle get there? You know, that's the stuff that we like to tackle because it affects everybody. You know, what is the exchange of information? What's needed? How does it pass smoothly? How do we protect that load? Is it highly valuable? Is it highly dangerous? What is it? And we try to do that. And I see that as key pieces of work we should be doing in the future.
Do you think that there is anything specific to Canada as far as like a challenge or an opportunity for us to add to the global understanding of ITS?
So because we can participate is not mandatory. That is our challenge. Most countries are like, do it. Just do it. And everybody's like, okay, all right, dude. It's like a federal government thing. They say so, you do it. I was like, I don't have time for this right now. So like maybe like call me in like 5 years. We have to get past that barrier of like, I'm too busy for this, and unite people under a common objective, which is like the greater good. So that's why I went to public service. I love the greater good. I love getting out of the me thing and into something bigger. And if we could get that, then it will be prioritized differently. Then I have to give up something to help you. No. We're doing something to help everybody. We're doing something because it matters to the whole country. Like, it's fine that you live in a city and that things are very accessible to you. Not everybody lives that life. People live in small communities, remote communities. These goods are important to them. I would love it if the question was, how can I help? And then the roadmap to be clearer. Yeah, it's a little blurry. It's a little blurry, but the need is clear, is the protection and exchange of information in a certain lens, like so they say goods movement, supply chain, the goods that matter to basic human needs, you know, not necessarily commodities for trade, but maybe it's baby formula or maybe it's fuel, like heating oil. Yeah. We need to know what those are, and we need to know the weaknesses in our own system, and then we need to proactively work together to address that. Someone's got to bring that to the table, like objectively, and say, this is affecting a lot of people. Look how much population relies on this fuel, and I could get it from Vancouver. I need to get it to the Maritimes. They use a lot of oil out there. Okay, how do we do that? And then as you cross jurisdictions, I would love it if people participated based on knowing that they're helping a totally different population on the other side of the country, and that was a good thing. That was good time spent. That was good money spent. Because they're going to benefit from it. I guarantee you, with the climate change we're seeing, and in different places, everyone's going to benefit from this ultimately. But it can't be today, and it can't be all about you. It has to be about the greater good. So that, to me, if we can get the ball, help that, get it going.
So yes, Canada is providing the moral imperative for the rest of the country.
I feel like the board of directors has so many directions of travel that we are in, because we want this for everybody, not just goods. I'm transportation, so you're never going to hear anything else from me. Yes, we need water and then transportation. So not to diminish that, but I think that, you know, in a joking way, because we all have such different backgrounds, there is an imperative in each one of those. And so not everybody's doing goods with me. This is really me as a part of the board taking this leader, kind of seeing this need, and at some point I'm going to be directing my time, volunteer time, towards that goal. That's where I would like to be, instead of perhaps spreading it out a little bit right now. So we're just like any other org. We have to focus. You know, how many times have we heard that? And it's the same symptom. It's having so many things to fix, but then not being able to spend sufficient time on it to make a meaningful difference to that problem. Yeah, that's definitely on the radar.
I feel better just knowing that there's somebody out there thinking about this.
Thanks, Michael. Oh my gosh. Thank you for the vote of confidence. Your voice will resonate in my head, and I'll be like, what would Michael say if you went and did this other thing? Because you are putting this down. Yes, no, I will. It's good. It gives me a lot of excitement and energy to hear a person like you with no bias toward transportation. Tell me that it's kind of important. It's cool because you don't have to agree with me. You don't have an infrastructure. You don't want to build stuff. You have no bias. But you heard me say why I think it's important, and you kind of like, yeah, that's cool. And I appreciate that because that means I'm seeing it kind of with the right lens. Well, you're cool like that. But I got to test these theories out with multiple audiences. They'll be like, I think you're smoking something, Jude. I don't know. So I like to know that, am I seeing the problem correctly, and question myself so that we put effort into the right thing.
Well, thank you so much, Judy, for joining me today on AA Live.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for the interview.
And thanks to you, listeners, for joining me today as I spoke with Judy Yu. Let's get together again soon on the next episode of AA Live.
Coming to you on the internet audio, all the STEM homies know is where you gotta go, vibing your ride to the Graham and Michael groove. Oh, it's a whole new funky flow interview. Treat your ears, get the gist of careers from the list of our engineers and scientists, maybe twisted up with technologists. The podcast, baby, and not to be missed. Got more fly than a ripe banana. Like Sam, I got the stamina streaming across Canada. I can trade sugar band, I got that swaggity swag, yeah, and the 411 from my horse to Niagara. Don't you know we're gonna innovate? Got a topic here to elevate. Gonna entertain and educate.